All right, Garrett Johnston here with Ludvig Aberg, and man, this has been quite an interesting year. You've got two majors under the belt. You've already played. What do you feel so far you've learned about yourself and your game in major championships?
Yeah, I mean, obviously majors are a little bit different. There's a different vibe to it, and obviously that's what you want to play. And I had a great time at Augusta, and I got to experience the other side of the spectrum at the PGA. So hopefully, there's a lot of things that you can learn from those two events, and we got two more this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
I know the back nine on Sunday, they talk about it's when the Masters really starts. I know on 11 you had that mistake, but you had a smile on your face coming off the 11 green with you and your caddy, Joe Scovrin. What was that? Where does that come from, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we all know that it wasn't ideal to hit in the water. And, at the end of the day, that's nothing I can do anything about whatsoever whenever I've hit the shot. And but we all knew that the golf course was played difficult. It was going to take some good shots to win the tournament, and all we could do was just keep giving ourselves chances and make sure that we put some pressure on the leaders.
Definitely. And when I think about that Sunday, obviously having takeaways, like what would you feel was your most positive takeaway from making a big run at Augusta?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just made myself believe that I can be there, because obviously it was my first major, and you don't really know what it's going to be like until you actually play one. And for me to have such a positive week with so many cool memories and things that I look back on with a lot of joy, I think that was the coolest thing.
Well, when I think about obviously where you're at in the schedule right now, here we are 2 majors down. We got the U.S. Open ahead. What is it that you embrace about these two different majors we have coming ahead, U.S. Open and then also the Open Championship? What do you know about these courses and what's ahead?
Yeah, I actually played the U.S. Amateur at Pinehurst a couple of years ago, so I've seen it in a USGA setup. Obviously, it's really difficult. It's very hard, but it will be a good challenge. I think it's U.S. Open is supposed to be hard. It's supposed to test all your aspects of your game, and that's what we're going to see next week as well. But I think the Open will be a little bit more weather dependent, I believe. I haven't been to that golf course. I haven't seen it.
Royal Troon, yeah.
Royal Troon. So we'll see what it's like whenever we get there. We're going to do a little scouting trip a couple of weeks prior. But yeah, I mean, obviously that's tournaments that you dream of playing as a young kid growing up, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
What's your comfortability factor with links golf out there in Scotland?
Yeah, I've played a few. We always play the British Amateur, the British boys growing up, and I've had some experiences on links, not too much to be fair, but it's going to be windy. I grew up in the wind and went to school in the wind, so I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I know that you mentioned Smiley Kaufman on his podcast. You mentioned that there's the short-term and the long-term goal. A lot of times you want to have a couple different things that you're kind of focused on. For you right now, what do you feel is the short-term and what do you feel is kind of the long-term?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have goals, to have something to work towards. Right now, I like to keep up with goals. I like to have stats based goals to be able to work on, and we're trying to get the putting in the short game a little bit better. So that would be the short term, and then obviously the long term, we're going to be very long term and looking into the future.
I know you've mentioned wanting to be number one in the world at one point when you were younger. Like, how much was that something that you would relish, having that challenge and getting there?
I think so. I mean, I think anyone that are in the position that we are in here on the PGA Tour should have that to strive for being world number one. And they say that's the coolest thing in golf, and I think that's very true. So something that I'm been wanting to do, and hopefully one day we can achieve that.
Couple last things. Where do you feel like you get the most of your power? Like, where does most of that come from in your swing?
I think it comes through the lower legs, almost using a squat to jump almost to get the speed up. But I think there's multiple ways to get power in your swing, and I think that's the one that I'm using the most.
And with your short game right now, you talk about trying to improve your putting and your chipping around the greens. Like, what types of things are you doing? Are there certain drills in order to get those figured out?
I think it's just to have a bigger toolbox whenever I come down to a certain shot or a certain position, that I feel like I have a few different selection of shots that I can pick from. I think if you look at the best players in the world in the short game, they have a toolbox that's this big, and mine's probably this big at the moment. So I'm trying to get it a little bit bigger and try to master a few different shots. And it's going to be a journey, and I'm not nowhere near finished, but hopefully we can get a little bit closer to it.
Well, Well, Ludwig, always appreciate your time, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
All right, thank
See
you.
you down the line.